Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Ada for calling my SIL cruel for excluding her brother, my husband, from her upcoming wedding. My husband, 32, has just one sibling who happens to be his sister, 28. In the aftermath of their parents' divorce, they were further estranged from one another since each child chose one parent to live with. As a result, he had a difficult relationship with SIL as a youngster, but they were finally able to work over their differences. Sil bemoans the fact that she is always on the receiving end of his pranks and jokes whenever they are together. She states that as a consequence of him, she has lost her high school friends, her high school love, and a great deal of self-esteem, as his pranks have emotionally and mentally broken her down and damaged her self-esteem. Their financial situation has improved, but old habits die hard, and my husband is still the joking around that he was in the past. My sister-in-law proposed to her boyfriend 2 months ago and invited my husband and myself to the wedding. Unfortunately, my husband decided that the party was an excellent time to play a practical joke on her and made up a story about her fiancé's brother being involved in an accident that evening. Although he was joking, things got out of hand, and the party had to be canceled because of the chaos. My sister-in-law yelled at my husband, and she hasn't talked to him since. Her wedding is almost approaching, but she has not yet sent out an invitation to her brother. I got in touch with her after seeing him discouraged and sad, and she told me she would look into the problem. Despite the fact that she said explicitly that she would not be inviting him to her wedding after he ended their engagement, I thought she went too far in her statement. For starters, it was a fake, a common one that he perpetrates on a regular basis, and she and everyone else responded inappropriately. Furthermore, he had already repented on several occasions, which, in my opinion, should be sufficient grounds for granting him pity and forgiveness at this time. Even though she expressed regret for inviting him, she didn't want to take the possibility that he would ruin her wedding. Furthermore, her fiancé isn't comfortable with him being there, and she agreed with him. I was surprised when she described me as harsh, since this is her brother, and he has never intended to harm her in any way. However, she continues to be offended and oversensitive to everything he does, despite the fact that they are related at the end of the day. Despite her pleadings, I informed her that this was not acceptable considering how distraught her brother is since he does not want to miss her wedding. She expressed gratitude for my support, but I refused. She came to the conclusion of the discussion by expressing that she owed nothing to anybody. To me, it seemed harsh and cruel, as if she were punishing him for something that had occurred in the past. As soon as I told my husband, he broke down in tears. However, other family members supported her decision and criticized me for enabling his forward attitude. Story 2. Ada for telling my girlfriend she ruined my night by insisting she comes along. My 20-year-old girlfriend and I have been dating for a year. Jane, my partner, and I have distinct social circles. Jane doesn't get along with my pals, yet she insists on accompanying us on our evenings out in. It's quite awkward since, despite the fact that she's also a woman, these get-togethers are no partners allowed gatherings. It's also uncomfortable since she doesn't get along with anybody. Jane was furious because I was invited to one of their gatherings without her. I'll be gone from 10 a.m. Friday till Saturday afternoon. She doesn't mind if both of us leave, but it's a problem without her. I told her I'd go later and attempt to return early, but she wouldn't have it. I had to drag her along, and it was a misery. The vibe was down, and no one was having a good time since all of my friends appeared to be walking on eggshells around her. When we went home, she started bragging about how much fun she had, but I had the opposite reaction. "Well, I'm pleased someone had fun," I responded. She became agitated and inquired as to what I meant. I mentioned that it was a buddy night and that she was not invited. She became enraged and spewed nonsense about how it's poison that I want to spend a night out without her. She's upset because I won, didn't want her there in too, stated she spoiled the night. I simply wanted to spend one-on-one time with my buddies. Ada, edit, added a clarification. I noted Jane's gender sense, in most cases, that no partner restriction is imposed because the couples are opposite, creating a safe place for individuals to communicate guys' night or girls' night. I mentioned her gender since all of my pals have male partners, but it's still a no-night partners regardless of gender. I'm a woman. Jane is a woman. I am. Jane is a woman. My buddies are all female, and the party was a birthday celebration, so it lasted 2 days. They are typically not very lengthy. Update. The bulk of the votes were cast in favor of NTA. with a few YTA votes tossed in for good measure. I had a lot of negative feedback from individuals who were furious with me for being in that sort of relationship, which made no sense, but what can you do? I'd want to bring up another concern, which is that multiple people kept repeating the phrase, no means no, and stay with it when you say no. I'd want to emphasize that this does not always work with Jane, and in some cases, it does not work at all. She'd show up regardless of the circumstances, or she'd manipulate me into returning home or giving her my address in exchange for money. I was given some great advice, which I put to good use right away. As a matter of fact, I feel I owe an explanation to everyone about why I was dating Jane in the first place. For starters, my parents had a toxic relationship throughout my childhood, which I saw firsthand. Because of the children, they refused to divorce or even split despite their dissatisfaction with one another. There's no denying that didn't work. Second, Jane's behavior wasn't always that toxic, but when she started behaving in the same manner that my parents acted toward one another, my foolish brain automatically associated it with feelings of love. But Jane was my first genuine love. Despite the fact that I now realize this is not the case, the first was a few months that ended with me being cheated on. In our conversation, I expressed my displeasure with the double standard that existed between her friends and myself. I expressed my perplexity as to why she is so possessive and insists on being there at every event I attended. I can't trust you, not to anybody, while you're out, because I know you're, she stated, which took me completely off guard. Afterwards, she said that she thought many of my acquaintances were beautiful, and that she felt I did as well. So she projected her own desire onto me, getting jealous and possessive in the process. Her words were also accompanied by the statement that there is a 50% chance you will cheat on me since you swing both ways. As soon as I expressed my worries about her behavior, she erupted into tears and attempted to gaslight me. Yes, she tried to gaslight me, but I stood my ground and remained strong. What exactly is the source of her possessiveness? She explains that she simply is, and that she does it because she loves me. I was really taken aback. My relationship with Jane had to come to an end since I needed some time to calm down and think things through. Biphobia is not something I want to be a part of my life. Her reaction was not positive when I informed her. It happened when I was talking on the phone with one of my friends. I realized that all of the cash in my purse, about PS100, had disappeared, as well as my credit card that has since been sorted. When I confronted her, she grew violent, and I was forced to flee for my own safety. Following the incident with Jane, I'm now staying with a friend. Jane refused to go, and things were getting hairy. But I called the cops, and she was taken away. Still, I didn't feel safe being at home alone after all that. I also expressed my regrets to my friend, who assured me that everything was okay and that she was just relieved that I was no longer involved in the relationship. For this friend, it's either ride or die time, as I am for her. My friend and former girlfriend responded affirmatively when I inquired if she, my friend, would dump me as a friend if I continued to date Jane. What kind of jerk would I be if I had a friend like that? Who would do anything like that? So, yes, that's all. Is there a happy ending in this story? Thank you to everyone who shared their wise words of wisdom with me.